Good afternoon, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to today's race between DarkKobold and LeftFootedSultan. I am Baka Shinobi, and I'm joined. It's a Gundam! Pilot Spaz.
How you doing, Baka? It's a perfect afternoon for Free Enterprise. It's too hot out. I'm in air conditioning, so I'm just gonna chill out and watch these two runners to fight for pride. This is, of course, the final match of Group Leviathan. DarkKobold versus the Left-Footed-Sultan, and both of them are destined for the hook route, but they're going to get a little bit more group seed practice in before they have to start playing matches that count towards the round 2.
Yep, both 0 wins and 1 win will send you to the hook route, but that's no reason not to go and play your best, because you're still playing these flags when you get to the hook route. Any practice is good practice, I say, and getting to feel an opponent might go and be very important if you have to face them again in that hook route. So,
and let's take a look at our objectives today. Try not to get distracted by the very good fake objectives that Asuka's provided. But so we have, of course, always Forge at Kokol's shop with the Adamant and the Legend Sword, open the Troya Treasury with the Earth Crystal, wake Yang with the Pan, and defend Fabul.
That is that's a set of objectives, all right. You do need to find a Pan and an Earth Crystal that could be hidden on the moon. Apologies to chat, I got a little too animated. But there's a lot of potential for this to be Jet. If we start with a Pan, Underworld access is guaranteed to be somewhere in the Overworld, and that's going to be very accessible. That Pan can easily give an Earth Crystal and defend Fabul. Well, that doesn't need anything. We can go and do that straight away.
But of course, we are still doing a key item hunt for those four potentially required key items. So they could be anywhere. They could be at the very deepest part of the moon. So we really won't know if we're looking at Jet or if we're looking at a long gauntlet seed here until we see what our first item is going to be.
Yeah, that starting item is going to be pretty important for our characters, for our runners. Starting character being Yang is also going to be not your favorite character to start with. He's definitely going to go and he needs levels in order to do damage. Great on certain flags, not so great in flags where you can go and open boxes with that T-Wildish flag and get a lot of good stuff. You can go and see ninja swords, long swords, weight spears, defense spears. You can see a lot of nice stuff in some places on this T-Wildish flag, so...
I do want to shout out the Left-Footed-Sultan's naming scheme right now. For anyone who was around for the reveal of the PlayStation 3, they appreciate those names. That's a very good reference.
And to answer a question from chat, yes, Visoya is disabled. He is turned off. He's taking a break after mopping up the Fabul Gauntlet, so we're just simply going to go and be going with the characters we have and making them go and work a little bit more. That does go and bring us to interesting points like Tella is incredibly valuable on these flag sets as well. Visoya does go and get the big spells of Nuke, Quake, and Fatal. Okay, we don't use Fatal, but Nuke and Quake are very big spells. White's a handy spell. And Tella doesn't get those. Tella still gets a lot of other great spells like Size, Stone, Mini.
And let's not underestimate the utility of a simple spell like Exit, which could save us, 10-15 seconds at a clip, even leaving Antlion or eluding the Watery Pass.
Indeed. And we are starting. Hey, there's our Tella. We have 2. Ooh, and an Avenger start as well.
I am not unhappy with that start when I see it.
When I see that start, I think I want to go and find as many characters. I want to find any character who can go and use that Avenger sword right away, which is limited to Kane because Cecil needs to be a paladin to use it. But I would really like to see a Kane.
Yeah, definitely. Kane early on here is going to get you through a whole lot of bosses that, that wouldn't give you trouble otherwise, but they're going to be able to jet through some rude bosses early on. Evil Wall comes to mind, and Avenger Kane is just going to chop through him no matter where he is on the Earth.
Oh yeah, that if you have Avenger is a pretty powerful weapon. It's 80 base damage, I think. but it also goes and gives plus 10 strength and plus 10 agility, which is massive at these early levels. And on top of that, it auto-berserks your character, so you don't even have to input commands, you just have to have them in your party getting turns, and they're going to go and swing that sword and cut things down. Hey, there's a cane.
There's a cane, and there's a Tell. Is that Commentator's Curse, Baka? Did we talked up both those characters, and now they're showing up in spades.
Alright, so I think LeftFootedSultan is the real cause of this, because he had Cane named attack, Tell named time, so he found attack and time at the same point. It's time to attack everything, so I'm putting this one on LeftFootedSultan. He must have gone and read the seed good. Somehow went and read the mysteries of the universe, saw the code, and said, yes, this needs to happen.
So now...
Go ahead.
Now, our runners were jetting off in opposite directions, but landing relatively close to each other. LeftFootedSultan is going to dive Watery Pass to get that loot. DarkKobold looking for his first key item.
Yep, DarkKobold probably feels like, I have a cane, I have an Avenger Sword, I don't need anything else. I'm not going to go loot that Watery Pass, which, sure, it has great stuff, but I don't need it right now. I'll loot this Antlion Cave, get some stuff while I'm here, but I want to go and start hitting objectives. If I can get things going, I would much rather get things going. And
LeftFootedSultan finding that Edward in the Watery Pass and adding him to his party, which I'm never too thrilled to see an Edward early on in these seeds.
Edward's scary to see, but the power shirt at the waterfall is a real big prize there. That is plus 15 to strength. Cane is probably going to be doing a lot of damage. But as you said, exits are in play, and when you can walk through this whole place that's got some extra nice loot, you can just keep picking up boxes.
One of the unique things about these Threemus zone flags that we're dealing with is that it's the 60% sparse is on, which means not every chest is going to contain items. So Watery Pass, while it has a lot of utility because it is weighted more heavily than other areas, you could walk through this entire area and you could walk out with very little. Yeah,
but as that power shirt was definitely a big swing. You could go, you can still find really nice stuff like the fence sword or a white spear even in this location. But it is going to take time, and in that time, DarkKobold has finished their first check. I didn't even see the boss, and they have the package.
Yeah, I believe it was a Bahamut. I saw some kind of dragon really quick, but it was down before I could really grok who was there.
Yeah, it turns out that a King with an Avenger really doesn't like letting overworld enemies live very long. He's used to stabbing Cecil on the back. Apparently, with that Avenger, he's really good at stabbing enemies in the face as well.
All right, so DarkKobold is climbing up Hobbs to see who the hostage is. It's another Edward.
And so the boss is Dark Imp, so that's a free boss out of the pool. Also, it's another location where D-Mist is not. D-Mist is an important boss because after you defeat D-Mist, if you go back to Mist Village, you will see Rydia's mother there with a key item. And that can be very important sometimes.
And I do like leaving a character that I'm not thrilled with at either the Watery Pass or Hobbs as kind of an emergency anchor. Especially if I get Crystal Sword Cecil that I want to jet through the majority of the seed with, but I don't want to bring him with me to the Threemus fight.
Yeah, that's something, because vanilla agility is on. Normally on these flag sets, the middle character is your anchor. They are the person that the agility formula is calculated upon. We'll touch on that maybe at a later point in the seed. But if Cecil's in your party, he's the one that the agility calculation is going to be based on, and Cecil is a very fast character, and if you want to use him, he also kind of needs to be leveled up, so it's very difficult to go and use a Cecil in these flag sets. If you have two, however, you can go and use one as an anchor, and the other one can just go and enjoy that crystal sword.
Bach, I see you've heard of second Cecil.
Indeed. Have you heard of third Cecil, an Avenger and a crystal sword?
Not yet. Maybe my time in the hook route will bless me with a third Cecil.
And with that, DarkKobold is through and has completed the Defend Fabul objective, only getting a Bahamut summon, but that's an objective down. That is objective number 4 complete. DarkKobold only needs to do 2 more, and still in a good position. Ooh, finding a sorcerer robe. That is a very nice piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be helpful for those tellos.
Yeah, the tellos, and if you find a Rosa or a Palom, that is a fantastic piece of... Hey, speaking of Rosa, I believe that is going to replace Rosa is going to replace one of the tellos in the party.
And with the Bahamut summon, I would not throw away Iridia.
Yeah, Rydia suffers from not being Palom, who learns Quake and has the bluff skill, but with Bahamut, she really makes up for it.
Yeah, and we still don't know where our underground access is going to be, and Iridia with the Bahamut Sun getting us through that hook route through Upper Babel, that makes those bosses a whole lot easier.
Indeed. There are two ways underground. One is the Magma Key, which just simply get that key item, go to Agar, drop it down the well, underground's open. The other way is through the hook route, where you need to go and spawn this hovercraft that LeftFootedSultan has, carry it over to Eblin Cave, and go through the Eblin Cave and Upper Babel and face two bosses in order to go and get access to the underground.
So the LeftFootedSultan checking the waterfall spot, looking for that D-Mist, who is gating a key item, finding the Wyvern, who will cast Mega Nuke immediately upon showing up, and he resetting out of that, and now he is going to dive in the Antlion Cave and collect his package.
Wyvern may not be D-Mist, but he will be D-Mist. And DarkKobold going and looting Severa, going and checking those shops. There's a number of important items that can be in shops. Some of the biggest ones are Cure 2s, Star Veils, which cast Wall on the character who uses them, Silk Webs, and Life Potions. Life Potions aren't actually just for reviving your characters in Free Enterprise. Even in vanilla Final Fantasy IV, you can do this thing called the Life Glitch, where on normal non-boss fit enemies, if you throw a Life Potion on an enemy as it's dying, you revive it with 0 HP, and then get another credit for another kill.
Getting stuck without life potions and without a decent white mage puts you in a very bad position. Even if you're not going for that life glitch. There's definitely been plenty of seeds where I didn't check the right item shop and didn't have life potions in a very bad situation.
Some of the scariest seeds I've played are the ones that had no shop, so you didn't get anything. You just got... if you found a life potion, it was the most precious thing in your inventory. Or at least one of. And speaking of precious things in your inventory, I saw that LeftFootedSultan has a cursed ring that gives minus 15 to all stats, which is really important for some things. And my goodness, for
oh boy, DarkKobold climbed to the top of Mount Ordeals to get Tella his spell set, which is granted by the shrine at the very top, but is gated by 3 bosses. The first one being the Alt Gauntlet. Five fights pulled from the random encounter pool in the area that you're in, and he's going to be chipping away at this one for a little bit.
Yes, in the vanilla game, you have the Gauntlet, the Fabul Gauntlet, which goes and attacks Fabul. It was today replaced by a different enemy that I didn't see because I was distracted by LeftFootedSultan. But it's a fight of 3 fights of officer soldiers from Baron, 2 fights of monsters, and 1 gargoyle fight. Here, we decided, it gets really annoying doing the same 5 fights over and over again, which is slightly differently scaled stats. Let's just pull enemies from the nearby area. It'll be more thematic. So here, we are just seeing a selection of fights from the encounter table of Mount Ordeals.
Well, this is interesting. LeftFootedSultan has not put that Avenger Sword on his Cane. Cane is swinging with, I think, a rune axe right now. But I guess he was... He did... no, DarkKobold did Fabul and fought the Mage's Sisters. I mean, the rune axe will help him against mage-type enemies, but I would put that Avenger on him by default immediately.
Yeah, the rune axe suffers from having very low accuracy. I think it's a 60% base accuracy. And that can wildly vary your damage. It does have very high attack power, but the Avenger has better accuracy, and it gives those bonus stats, and the auto Berserk in Final Fantasy IV just straight up increases your attack damage by 50%. It's just a flat bonus.
DarkKobold still chipping away against this alt gauntlet. One of the few places that Avenger Kane is helping a little bit, but not as much as he would against almost any other boss in this location.
Yeah, he definitely helps at the very least. When you have Kane in the middle slot, with that Avenger, he's going to be very fast, so he's going to slow down all the enemies. Kane's going to be attacking every 5 ATB ticks, but the enemies are probably attacking a lot less than that. And LeftFootedSultan is going to check the vanilla Threemus cave. I don't think DarkKobold has checked that yet, but we'll see if there's a Threemus hiding in their vanilla location today.
And there is not.
There's an Octomam. And, well, that's a boss that you can go and definitely deal with in a lot of locations, and it's probably the most friendly of the melee-focused bosses. But not awful to see out.
All right, DarkKobold is finished with that alt gauntlet, and we're going to be able to get our first peek at the second boss, Gating Ordeals. There are some nasty bosses here in this back attack position.
Yeah, there can be some real nasty things. Leviathan, not awful, but ooh, this is going to be rude for Rosa. He does open with Big Wave, which does 25% of your max HP as damage, and as you can see, knocks down the top Tella. Rosa's down to half health. Kane is going to start swinging away. If we can go and get through this, it's not going to be too bad, but the other thing Leviathan does is cast Ice 2, which might hurt.
Oh, but it's reflected. That's very nice. Very lucky there, DarkKobold side.
Yeah, seeing 344 damage on a reflected Ice 2 against Leviathan that it has a resistance to, you're pretty glad you didn't get hit by that yourself. And Leviathan is already down. Meanwhile, we do see LeftFootedSultan fighting the Baigan and the Baron Inn, still using that Rune Axe. And we're going to go and see how the next fight goes.
Yeah, the first fight in the Baron Inn is practically a freebie. It only has about 400 health, but that second fight can be pretty nasty. About 4,000 health on that.
It is Mylon and Friends, which this spot hits really hard with punches. With magic, it's not very hard. It's not very hard, to be entirely honest. So, switching over to a Gungnir Spear that he picked up and is going to go and start jumping. And we have a hook from Ordeals.
So we have a required Ordeals today. Perhaps. I mean, we still don't know what the reward for the Baron Inn is. It can still be that magma key. Yep. It is possible to get both paths to the underground open on the overworld, but one is always guaranteed.
Yes. What's also guaranteed is the path to the underworld will not be blocked by one of the 3 bosses: Valvalis, Wyvern, and Golbez. Wyvern we've seen is chilling out in the watery paths today, or behind the waterfall of the cave. We haven't seen Valvalis or Golbez yet, but we didn't see any of them on the way through Ordeals. This is definitely in logic for a path underground.
So DarkKobold is finished at Ordeals. We're going to see where he's going to decide to go next. The LeftFootedSultan is taking a while with this Milan. His party not having the damage output to do this very quickly. Still questioning why he hasn't swapped that Avenger sword onto Kane, and it's at this point kind of really bothering me. I don't know about you, Baka.
Well, maybe they just don't want to go. It is a risk to go into fights with a character auto-berserked, where if you find something like Dark Knight Cecil or the D-Lunars or CPU, going and hitting any target willy-nilly is a bit of a liability. So maybe they're just being very cautious on that front.
Yeah, and it's not like the Rune Axe is a bad weapon either.
Yeah, Rune Axe is high damage. It's something to go and... It is a bit of a trap sometimes where you see, ooh, this Rune Axe has really high damage. I want to go and use that. And then you start seeing, why is this doing less damage than some of my things like a Blizzard Sphere, which has clearly inferior attack power? The accuracy stat matters. It isn't very visible normally. Boardface did add in the option when you're in your item inventory to press select and see the details of items, and you can see the accuracy right then and there, and that will go and tell you exactly how well that's going to hit things. And if it's a number below 80%, you might want to look at a different weapon.
So Sultan did swap his cane to have that Gungnir spear equipped, which definitely does have much better accuracy than the Rune Axe and a higher attack power than the Avengers. So while not berserked, his cane is doing some pretty good damage now.
Yep, definitely something to get through. Taking out Mylon, almost had a gas start going and showing why you don't leave gas around.
Oh.
My Gundam.
Yeah, what are the chances of that one? Just board AI for you, right?
Gundam, why did you do this to us? We were looking for a hook seed.
I know, I ruined it. I'm sorry, Asuka.
Now we also know that all combat owner deals is not necessarily required.
So, and this would have been trolly if DarkKobold had chosen to dive that hook route without checking the Baron in, but he's finishing up that Mylon fight and is also rewarded with the Magma Key.
Yep, this is DarkKobold might look a little behind, but he has done 2 other key item checks that LeftFootedSultan has not, so I'm liking DarkKobold's position. LeftFootedSultan is going to be more able to cut down on trips to Fabul with only being able to go underground, talk to Yang in the Sylph Cave, and then go back. And if we find a pan somewhere, well, that could go and really open things up.
And Sultan has not, choosing to go underground before getting his Tellas their complete spell complement. And so eventually he is going to do that Ordeals check, unless he's going to decide at some point soon to replace those Tellas with somebody.
Yeah, if you don't go and do Ordeals, Tellas fine as an anchor, but his utility is really in the getting certain things like the tier 3 elemental spells are really powerful. You don't get them until mid to late 30s for Hallam and Rydia. The Psy spell is very helpful against Mad Ogres. Toad is a very good spell. Stone is a very good spell. There's just a lot of very good spells in general that Tella gets from Ordeals, and not having access to them is very unpleasant if you want to keep Tella. If your goal is, I don't want to deal with Tella, I don't want to go and do a D-Machine grind, I plan on finding Sirens, let's go and do that.
So our job dwarf today is in some type of fund development. A funds development administrator.
And LeftFootedSultan definitely going out of his way to validate the seed to show off to the job dwarf. In the vanilla game, they're a farmer. In Free Enterprise, it's random, so why not randomize his job?
So Sultan is doing all of his free checks, checking the item shop, of course, in Tomara, diving into Feymarch to check their free key item chest that's down here. Working on a pretty standard early underground play.
Yep, I definitely like going to that Tomra. You really want to have some money when you go to these underground shops. Tomra's treasury is a lot of money, so I like to go and loot that, grab some stuff, and come down here. I do like looting this Feymarch path. LeftFootedSultan is choosing for go it because there's a trap chest on this path, and it's not really that fun to go and deal with that trap chest.
No, it's if you are going to loot it this early, it requires a safety save and then reset out. And if you catch that monster chest late in your loot, it could be an ugly loss of a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's something where delicate balance between hunting for loot and avoiding those trap chests. And a vanilla rat tail.
That hook just got a lot more valuable.
Worst case, it goes and gives something like the Baron key, and that leads to a twin harp, that leads to a tower key, that leads to nothing. Or worse, a darkness crystal that leads to the moon. But that hook is definitely going to be very valuable for DarkKobold. That's going to be another quick check. You just carry your hovercraft over to the Adamant Grotto near Silvera and turn it in.
Yeah, so that's another reason for Sultan to do that ordeal like as soon as possible, which I don't see him fading that completely if he's going to hold on to that Tella, which no one would lose the Tella. I guess the only reason is if you have a guaranteed source of sirens, and you find maybe somebody who you think is going to have more utility for the rest of the seed. But
yeah, and we really want someone who knows Warp, which DarkKobold in his Tella has. LeftFootedSultan will have that from Tella when he completes ordeals, because we have the Warp glitch on in Dwarf Castle, where after you complete the fight of Dwarf Castle, if you cast Warp, you're back in the room where you had the fight. Only this isn't actually attached to Dwarf Castle. It's attached to the back of Sealed Cave. So you can go and steal the key item there, come back out, and you'll be able to go and just skip that whole check and still get the item from Dwarf Castle.
yeah, I do not. My first seed wasn't Threemus Zone after practicing for a while. I had to go into the Sealed Cave. It didn't feel good.
No one likes the Sealed Cave. It's long, you have to walk, and it's another place where you want to have warp. You can't warp glitch in the Sealed Cave, but you can't exit out either, and it's a long walk. You can warp floors back, though, so that will save you a bit of time.
Yeah, so on seeds, some seeds, the Sealed Cave is still required if a D-Mist happens to be hiding there. But thankfully, I haven't encountered that yet. I know a couple of runners have already in the tournament.
Oh, that is something. I don't want to go and spoil something, but if you want to see something a spicy D-Mist placement, you should go and see the finals of the first Highway to the Zenith Zone. And here we have DarkKobold going and looting and buying things from Dwarf Castle, finding. Ooh, these are some nice equipment.
Yeah, those strength rings are gonna help our Avenged Kane be even more powerful, and our Yang do even more damage before he gets his levels up.
Yes, that'll definitely help him. And LeftFootedSultan is in Fabul, going to go and do. I guess they've already done the Fabul defense, or they're going straight to Sheila to turn in the first item.
He's already done the Fabul defense.
Okay. And we saw an orb.
Maybe
we are going to have the CPU fight.
Darkness Crystal. Oh. Darkness Crystal at Sheila 1. Sheila's got the goods. Maybe Sultan hasn't done the Fabul defend yet. No, yeah, he's going to go do it now. So he's combining those two checks and saving himself a little bit of time.
Yes. And, this is... So this is one of those fights where I said you might not want to go in with your Avenger equip, because if you kill both those front orbs, you the back orb decides to start casting a spell called Globe 199. It's not an instant death spell. It just has such a high multiplier that it will do 999 points of 9,999 points of damage in almost every single spot in the game.
This would be the best example of not completely relying on that Avenger sword. However, DarkKobold is, handling it expertly. He's casting Blink, which increases the evade stat. He's casting that on the attacker orb, so that even if Kane decides to target it, it will miss.
Yes, Blink goes and negates 2 physical attacks to a target. It's a really handy spell. Tella starting with it is actually a very, very helpful thing.
And it just played there as Kane attempted to take out the attacker orb. Yang too, actually. All the Berserk characters really want to take out that attacker orb and trigger Globe and 999?
Just 199.
99? Yeah, which is nearly an instant death. I think it actually does like a damage, but it's almost always like 9,000 damage.
Yes, if you have characters at moon levels, or probably above moon levels, and you find the CPU in the Wyvern spot, you might not die from a Glow 199. And if you're a mage, because Magic Evade is a very helpful thing to have against some of those things. And we do see TheLeftFootedSultan going and taking out the Magus Sisters, but having a bit of trouble. One of the things about the Rune Axe, low accuracy for one, and if you're not back row glitched or have the long range flag, when you attack something that's in the back row, you also get half accuracy. So it is very difficult to go and hit some things when you're attacking from the back row, as we saw Kane swing and completely miss Cindy.
Looks like those Zerked characters did finally take out that attack orb, and here comes the global 99 to take out Rosa.
Getting her back up, getting the CPU down before he goes and does another global 99. That's definitely great for DarkKobold. Getting a bunch of levels because this spot has a lot of experience. Even getting out Rosa.
Overall, a pretty clean CPU fight with Zerked characters from DarkKobold.
Yeah, this is a really harsh team to try and get a good fight with. I think the best thing you could have done is reset.
No. Oh boy. Baka, did Asuka even bother to randomize this seed?
You know, I'm beginning to wonder. I'm beginning to wonder about Asuka and her randomization. I'm really beginning to wonder, Asuka, what did you do? We have a vanilla Ratchet, we have a vanilla Golbez, we have a pretty vanilla party as well, all things considered. So
yeah.
Cecil.
It's an interesting play here. I don't know what weapon he has for some at this point.
He's got the Rune Axe.
And the Avenger's sword.
Yep, and the Avenger. As we said, the vanilla agility flag means that Cecil is now the anchor. You cannot change who is... You can't go and use any other character to anchor within this party. The only way to go and adjust your agility situation is to get a second Cecil and put him in a higher priority slot than your leveled Cecil. And one of the lessons of Free Enterprise is playing fair agility is really scary. Some spots are very fast, and you can mitigate this with what we call agility anchoring, where there's only so much faster anything can be. The reason why Cecil is used as is called the anchor is because it's a more or less point of reference. It is something where the game needs to figure out how many ticks of the ATB do we want to go and do to have a turn, and what do we go and base this on. If you just use any number, it could be a really long time between turns in the early game and really short time periods in the late game. So Cecil is the number that goes and based off. Whatever his agility is, if an enemy has more than 2.5 times of that agility, it's going to go and be the fastest thing it can be in the game. And if it's less than that, it's going to be slower.
It's not gonna affect us in this Golbez fight. So level 1 Cecil has an agility of a 13. However, as that Cecil gains levels, that agility is going to shoot up very quickly, and may make some other bosses in rude locations a lot faster than our party.
Yes, the biggest advantage, like one of the advantages of Tella, is in addition to having all those spells, he also has terrible agility, and he doesn't need levels to actually be good. So you can leave him down and pick him up for sometimes, or put him down before the end of the fight, and he'll be a really slow anchor. So it's much easier for your characters to be more than 2.5 times his agility and just max out on speed, where if you're fighting an enemy with 40 or 50 agility and your party's only in the 30s, if your anchor is at 6 or 1 because of a cursed rank.
So DarkKobold is about to get these 2 checks here at Dwarf Castle. The necklace around Luca's neck, and of course the warp glitch to see what is at the end of the sealed caves.
Yep. Having to go and throw an ether is heads up play to make sure you have some ethers in the event that your Tella needs to go and recover. Oh, required pan.
Yeah, there's value in sealed cave today.
Really important to go and do your warp glitch today, because if you don't, you have to find the Luca key And we know the Darkness Crystal is given by Sheila 1.
So, of course, DarkKobold is going to turn in the pan immediately, not going to Feymarch to get that rat tail. So that does give Sultan a little bit of advantage if he can get through ordeals, turn in that rat tail, and it has value.
Yes, that is something that could go and be very big for Left-Footed Sultan, because missing a check because you're laser focused on your pan is a little scary. If you... Granted, if DarkKobold gets the Earth Crystal from here, that swings it straight back to DarkKobold, because he's going to have an Earth Crystal, he's going to have 2 checks from Sheila 1. The first check we know is the Darkness Crystal. I do like this path, just because doing your required checks before doing non-required checks, and your required check gives you an objective, is going to go and put you ahead.
Yeah, always do your objectives. That is one of the rule of these Threemus zone seeds.
Yes, it's really easy to go and get distracted by, like, I have this to do, I have these things to do, this is going to go and give me a lot of stuff. But if you know you have to go and do some of these things, you only have to do 3 or 4 of them. But if you have it open and accessible to you, doing it early and then having, if that gives you progress to your next objective, is going to put you in a better position than trying to be efficient on a broad view.
So it is, but it is possible. Our key item hunt is down to only 3, but just an Earth Crystal here as a reward for Sheila 2 turning in this pan will put DarkKobold in go mode.
Yes, that is something. We're either 1 or 2 key items away. Well, DarkKobold's technically access to Threemus, but there it is. So now this pan, what does it give?
Tower key. So no keyless tower today. I'm sorry, Invenerable. But that's great, because with Dwarf Castle completed, the next logical dense check is the tower, because with the tower key we get 2 key item checks there. I gotta guess that DarkKobold is gonna check that Feymarch spot before he dives tower. I can't imagine him fading that for this long.
Looks like you're right. I wouldn't have been super surprised to maybe take the line of, I want to go and just make 1 trip down to Feymarch if I'm putting it off this long, so let's see if I can get myself nice and prepared. This tower is going to give a good amount of experience, so maybe he can go and get a lot of levels there and just have everything he wants from that tower.
Yeah, those early and free checks are always scary to me when I delay them too long, because if they do have value and my opponent decided to go there before me, what feels like a good position could turn into a very bad one very quickly.
I most certainly agree with that. Ooh, DarkKobold getting out of the shop and immediately going back in, seeing those Hourglass 2s, they will go and when you use them, they cast Stop on all enemies, and that can be really helpful, because bosses, yeah, they're immune to Stop. Enemies, not so much.
I think we're getting a preview of what DarkKobold's planning for his grind, buying 10 of those Hourglass 2.
I wonder what possible fight he would be interested in trying to do.
But I don't think we have seen Sirens yet, unless were they in the Dwarf Castle item shop?
I don't remember seeing them, to be entirely honest. They may be on the moon. They may also be in Evelyn.
And they may be nowhere.
Yep. And speaking of nowhere, Leviathan is nowhere to be seen anymore as he crumbles away, no longer blocking the path forward for Left-Footed Sultan.
Oh, Dia is of course pointing out the obvious in chat that those hourglasses are for DarkKobold's Clapper Grunt, which is coming.
But Dia, you don't want to go and stop the person who's going and summoning the Clappers. You can only... Hourglasses stop everything. You only want to stop the Clapper from eating your face and throwing blitzes out.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Baka. He's got this. All right, Left-Footed Sultan is getting his tele online now, seeing the good news of that hook as the reward for a deal, so he can turn in that rat tail. DarkKobold getting a bunch of Star Veils and really setting up for entering endgame.
Yep, you start with a handful of Star Veils. He has already seen Golbez, and he knows where Wyvern is, so that's the majority of the bosses you want Star Veils for, but they're still very helpful tools for other things. And not feeling bad about having a bunch extra. Also, I am just realizing now that we had both the Alt Gauntlet fight and Dr. Luge on Ordeals. Those are the two multi-part fights, unless I'm missing another one.
I believe you're right.
But now both runners have access to the Rat Tail, DarkKobold.
Yeah, I don't know if you would count Dolls or Dark Elf as multi-part because you don't leave the encounter and enter it again.
Ooh, DarkKobold finding Plague. Plague is one of those fights where if you can manipulate your agility very well, you can go and cheese that fight no matter what.
Yeah, and there's a couple strategies that make Plague fairly free. If you have good agility, you can keep killing and rezzing one of your party members, which keeps him casting that Doom counter on you. If you are also fast enough, you can throw up a Star Veil, which will, before you cast Doom the first time, which will reflect it back. And with one party member not under the spell, you'll just continually keep casting it, resetting the counter for the rest of the party.
Indeed. Or if you're really cheap, you can go and abuse that agility system, because the game, when it's really not very good at dealing with relative agility 1 situations, to be entirely honest. It wants to go and do one thing per ATB tick. It's always processing a command. If there's no command, then it can go and update status information. If you never give it time to go, because you're always inputting a command, or there's always a command being inputted, to do anything else but process commands, it can never check your statuses and say, oh, this is worn off, I should go and do the wearing off this status. Which, in counts sense, means if it gets to 0, the game needs to check to see this is 0, I need to kill the person who is of this status.
Correct. That does require relative agility 1, which I'm not with that. Cecil, probably, what is he? Probably around level 10.
If you have enough characters acting, you can go and get away with it, but just reviving Tella and bringing him back to life is going to go and do just what you need as well.
So, meanwhile, Sultan did turn in that rat tail. I believe an elven bow was the reward for the rat tail. No value there. Is going to give Rose a little bit of power, both attack power and magic power. Very useful item.
The elven bow will do bonus damage to mages if there were any left. I think we've already seen Magus Sisters. I think we've seen Ashura somewhere, even if we didn't end up fighting them.
I don't think we saw Ashura.
Okay, so
she might still be up there, yeah.
Maybe I misremember. I thought she was at Mount Hobbs, but again.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Neither people took that fight, but maybe the sprite was there.
Just a spoon from that plague? I have a distinct feeling that, yes, DarkKobold does not want to go and take which is either the Elements or the Rubicant fight at the King Leviathan spot. I don't blame him in the slightest. You could probably make that Rubicant, that if that fights the Elements, it's potentially not awful if you have Crystal Armor and some Star Veils, because Crystal Armor gives undead resistance. Mylan Phase is technically undead, so Cecil will take half damage. Crystal Armor is really strong, so Cecil would be able to block the whole team. If you throw up a Star Veil and reflect Fire 3s from Tella onto Mylan, you'd be able to go and not trigger the phase change to the Rubicant phase or any subsequent phase, and take it out pretty reasonably.
Yeah, it's getting into that Rubicant phase is where that fight gets dicey, because if it's a fast location, Rubicant will just cast every flavor of fire until your party's dead. And that's when that fight gets unpleasant. If you can get past Rubicant, I never really have trouble with the Elements after that.
That is entirely fair. Fun fact about the Rubicant phase of elements. Unlike the Rubicant fight itself, the Rubicant phase of the element fight counts as a mage. And Rubicant's still weak to ice. You know it can go in both a ice weakness and a mage weakness?
Elven Bow with ice arrows?
You are correct. And elemental weaknesses and racial weaknesses can stack, so you can get a multiplicative bonus and get something like times 8 or times 16 damage.
That would be something to see.
It is.
Rosa doing 5,000 damage to Rubicant there?
It's probably not too hard. Like, if you have a heroin rub, it's probably not too hard to just start capping out. Because if you're doing a base damage of 500 times 8, you're doing 4,000 times 16, you're doing 8,000.
So DarkKobold is probably looking here to check the item shop at Cave Eblin. Still looking for those sirens, but doing a little bit of looting on the side.
Yep, and we have not gone to the moon yet. I think DarkKobold is actually running close to being out of checks on Earth. Ooh, sirens, Bacchus wine. This is a nice ninja cave.
Yeah, so DarkKobold he's pretty much ready to head to the moon and finish off his grind. He'll be summoning the King Ryus and getting a lot of experience very quickly.
Yep, though he is only at, I believe, 8 key items. So you might want to hold off up to 2 more. He does have 2 checks that aren't too bad.
Yeah, he still hasn't gone up. He still hasn't gone up the tower. I believe that's the last check, and of course that could lead to something simple left on Earth. But he can attempt to get the 10 key item threshold. I'm hoping for that Twin Harp, but
Twin Harp would be nice. DarkKobold is flying off to... I'm not 100% certain where. They're going to Mount Hobbs. I guess they never checked here, so or they have checked here and know who the character is and want to add them to their party.
This character is an Edward. I believe DarkKobold has checked it.
But he has the spoon, and we have the spoon flag on.
Is he going to be replacing Cecil with Edward here?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Replacing Tella. Okay, he's not doing King Ryu's then. This is interesting.
This is definitely interesting. So King Ryu's is a good fight, but they have 8,000 HP. The hourglasses will stop them, but chewing through a bit over 8,000 HP each that takes a bit.
So, I mean, his options now, pretty much his options are eggs. And I don't think he bought mute bells, so this is going to be interesting.
He does have Rosa. Rosa can go and just simply cast mute if you anchor yourself correctly, so that is something I've done multiple times myself, where I've just gone up to the moon with a white mage and some ninjas, tanked the agility of my middle character, set my battle speed to 3, and had a white mage in the first slot, so that I would just simply instantly go and cast mute.
Sultan is entering the Golbez fight. Still funny. Golbez is in his vanilla, ready to be rude here, but he'll get through this fight hopefully fairly quickly. If I don't think I saw him buy extra star veils, but I don't think he's used any on any bosses he's encountered so far. So he does still have star veils left. Once he's through this Golbez fight, he's also going to get the good news that the pan is waiting for us.
Yep, that is, as long as he warp glitches. He has done Tella. He does go and have warp on Tella, so just needs to go and remember to warp glitch, and we'll be in good shape. DarkKobold going and setting up his Rosa with a Artemis bow, taking off the Avenger from Kane, putting on his Gungnir spear, and is going to check some chests, it seems.
The Tower of Babel does have 4 trap chests, and trap chests do contain the highest tier loot. So he may, with that Cecil, may be looking for a decent holy sword with him, a light sword of Excalibur or sword.
And answer question from Boren Storm, you are correct. DarkKobold does have Cecil, and that is going to make agility and manipulation tough. You can find curse rings in any shop on these flags. Don't know if DarkKobold wants to spend that time looking for in every armor shop for a curse ring.
Yeah, I believe it was Sultan who found the cursed ring in a chest. Oh, and Sultan taking a reset out of that Golbez fight.
Oh, that's really bad for Sultan. Leaving. Oh.
He's looking at his options right now and going up probably to do some shopping, to maybe try to find those Star Veils. Oh no, he's going to do a package check.
Ooh. If we have a Threemus there.
Yeah, we have not seen Threemus, so it could be... Oh, maybe he's just looking for... Okay, I'm... Noping out after seeing the Yang there, so maybe looking for a ninja or a black mage to help him through the Golbez fight?
That's possible. He is going to Mysidia here, it looks like, so he's going to probably unlock his big whale and head up to the moon.
DarkKobold stopping at the cannon room on his way up the tower, quickly dispatching the antlion that he finds there. Antlion, who is very expertly handling those cannon controls and is able to blow up the room as they leave.
I'm really impressed they can go and do that. Like, one cannon per pincer. I don't know if I could handle one cannon with both hands.
Well, monsters are getting smarter these days. That's what I've heard.
You are making a compelling point. That's true.
There's more of them, too.
Yeah. They do for some reason.
I often forget that that's part of the storyline of Final Fantasy IV. I often forget about the storyline of Final Fantasy IV while playing Free Enterprise.
I think Final Fantasy IV forgets the stories of Final Fantasy IV. Goldless is the villain, except when we decide he's going to go and be the main character's brother. Edward's is a coward until we decide that now we're going to go make him the ultimate machine of destruction. Poor Kane. He had all this nice stuff that is just getting stripped away from him and given to other people.
Yes, but DarkKobold did find that Excalibur somewhere. I don't know if that was in a trap chest.
It was in a trap chest here.
Yeah. So the time investment in taking on those trap chest fights definitely justified, because his Cecil's going to start doing some work for us now.
And we do see... we see the Mist Dragon. They are at the Rubicon spot.
So that information, it gives DarkKobold a bit of an advantage, but of course I don't know if that's a check that you do with the entire moon open to you. Oh, it's tough. That's going to be a long check, because you have to get through 2 dungeons and a boss before you can check that Threemus.
And it's faster to just walk out. And it's Threemus. We have no characters who can cast good black magic. We have Rydia on the moon, who can go and use that Bahamut summon. That's technically good magic. Ooh. Actually, DarkKobold, I think DarkKobold is going to regret not having a Tella for this fight, because this is one of the fights where Stone just kills all these enemies instantly.
Yeah, he's sitting on 10 hourglasses, and he's not going to throw one out here. That could make this fight a lot easier, but he's almost through to the officer, and once the officer's left standing alone, he's gonna run away. So he's almost through.
Yeah, maybe they chose not to use a hourglass, because if you stop the officer, he can't retreat, and the officer has the most of the HP. He also has most of the experience. But maybe it's worth going and giving up on some of that experience when you can go to the moon. And if this gives you 10 key items, it's probably worth it. We're at 9 key items, and we have one more shot of a key item as we leave this tower from that super cannon fight.
Yeah, DarkKobold only walking away with a sand ruby from the top of tower. So we'll see what that cannon room had to offer. Meanwhile, Sultan making his way through that the Cave of Bahamut. Cave Value, as it's called in the community. seeing a lunar sparkle on the King of Summons thrones. I guess technically Leviathan's the King of Summons, but does Bahamut have a title in the game?
I think Bahamut is like the Lord of Summon Monsters, while Leviathan's the King or something.
Maybe Leviathan's a puppet king?
I think Leviathan is the front king, and the Bahamut is the Shadow King.
That makes sense. There's always a Shadow King.
It's always Shadow. But we do have DarkKobold exiting the tower. We're going to go and get... we'll see what they have, and meanwhile, LeftFootedSultan is left with the awkward question of where do they go? They are going back to Earth. They have Iridia. They have not checked the Evelyn shop.
DarkKobold asking the question, how do I hold all these Excaliburs?
The answer is with the ninja who can dual wield.
If only.
Hey, ninjas can wield Excaliburs for about 0.1 seconds. Yeah, LeftFootedSultan is... They're in a position. I'm not certain where they want to go. We do know that sirens are in the shop in Evelyn Cave. We know that hourglasses are in Tamra, so you can do a gold dragon grind there. But we also know that they need to get through Wharf Castle and Wharfless to the Luca Cave.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they don't have a Cecil, so their agility management should be better than DarkKobold.
Yes.
But I think, is Kane still in that middle position?
He might be, but I do see LeftFootedSultan is purchasing Ether 2s, and that signals to me he is going to do a D-Machine grind.
That does make sense if he thinks that his levels are too low. I don't know if that's gonna... I mean, Galbez's magic power in that location is fairly low. It's definitely a winnable fight. And fading that location, I mean, he's not aware of it, but of course we are, that fading that location is just giving his opponent an advantage because that is required.
Yep, that is something that... it could be that LeftFootedSultan is just like, hey, I have Iridia. I would like to slingshot this Iridia to nuke and destroy everything in my path.
We are going to get a... Oh, okay. So it looks like he's going to... Continuing the shop. I thought we are. We're going to get a look at the Threemus zone D-Machine manipulation.
But they're forgetting to do the reset. Okay, now they've done their reset. And I believe now they're going to go and... Yes, as you were saying, the Threemus zone manipulation.
So with this manipulation, they will take a number of steps here outside of Baron, and then based on when they get the encounter, they can predict where the D-Machine fight will be in the Giant, or the Searcher fight that will summon those D-Machines.
Yes. This is because we have the Eat Can't Run flag on. You cannot run away from fights. You have to go in any fight you take. You have to finish. So, if you know your seeds and can figure out which seed you're on, you can then set yourself up so that the next fight you take and the specific location is going to be your D-Machine fight. Because when you turn off encounters, you don't go and advance the step count for encounters.
This is going to be interesting because if Sultan can get through the D-Machine grind fairly quickly, he's going to be at a big advantage level-wise and is going to be able to get through the moon bosses a lot quicker than DarkKobold can. And then, the DarkKobold's grind choices are fairly small. It's because he doesn't have Tela anymore. So, even though DarkKobold has one objective ahead, I think it's still pretty even. It's hard to tell who's going to pull ahead right now.
Yeah, DarkKobold has cleared most of the Earth. LeftFootedSultan is gearing up to go and be more than ready to just decimate the moon encounters. It seems almost guaranteed that at least one objective is on the moon. The only other place it could be is at Element, or the Elements or Rubicant fight at King Leviathan spot, which might as well be a moon encounter, so... Left-Footed Sultan is taking the time to get themselves ready for all of the hard encounters that might be required for our final objectives.
We could also be in for a spicy situation. It could be that the moon has Harp, which leads to Baron, which leads to our Earth Crystal. That's still on the table.
Oh yeah, and it could be adamant behind the Earth Crystal, so functionally, with how things set up, Earth Crystal is going to be the preferred go mode because adamant will be going through that Tower of Zot, and if you've already gotten your pan done, it's not going to be real feasible to sneak ahead through a sneaky check somewhere.
All right, so we're gonna hope that Sultan's first encounter should be, first or second encounter should be the D Machine grind. The new manipulation, it's fairly straightforward, but it can be a little tricky. I know I've screwed it up a couple times where I've been in the wrong. I've done the manipulation completely accurately, but I've been in the wrong room when I took my first encounter, and that screws it up. But
yep,
this looks like the right fight.
Ooh, one thing I don't like from Left-Footed Sultan is that Kane's in the middle, not Tella. Something that's good about that middle slot.
And DarkKobold finding a big pile of cash in the form of that crystal armor.
Ooh.
DarkKobold has not been wanting money in the seed. He already has all of the J items that he wants. So, yeah. We're not going to be putting that on Cecil because it will prevent Cecil from being berserked.
Well, if you got an Avenger does bypass that. He can't, he resists the Berserk status, but the Avenger just simply sets the Berserk status. It doesn't care if you're resistant to it or not.
Very true, very true.
But if you want to go and do something like, say, let Kane use the Avenger and have Cecil Berserk, yes. And then Berserk Cecil, yes, you absolutely don't want to go and wear that crystal armor.
But as you were saying on Sultan's side, we do want that Tella in the middle because that weak spell does have a tendency to miss. And Tella already doesn't have a lot of MP to spare. So missing a week or two is going to really slow down the grind.
I mean, missing a week or two tends to go and slow down my grind a lot too, but my bosses get a bit upset at that. But yes, the middle slot, in addition to going in being the anchoring position for your party, it also gives a 25% accuracy boost to any spell or weapon attack for that character. So it's a non-insubstantial thing. Let me put it this way. Tella missing outside of the middle slot is something I can say, yes, this is somewhat expected. Tella missing at the middle slot, even if I've got him cursoring, is an extremely rare occurrence for me.
Chad is talking about, Tella definitely could die if he misses a week. Once the D machines are out, they just do percentage-based damage, and with Rosa as the healer, hopefully he'll be able to keep his party from getting anywhere near death.
Yes. And a safety you can do is you can throw a blink on Tella, because in the event Tella whiffs a week and you have queued up an attack on the D machine, the D machine will counterattack with a punch, and that punch is it's from a you're expected to be level 40 or something when you're in here. It's not going to go and be something small. It's going to probably kill Tella in one shot if you aren't prepared for this.
DarkKobold making his way all the way to the bottom subterranean, and is going to start doing a lot of these checks here. Really getting the advantage while Sultan is trying to make his way through these D machines.
Ooh, and that fight just went off the rails for Sultan, taking a reset.
Oh no! So Water Hag in the ribbon spot is very bad for Sultan. Very good for DarkKobold. This is an extremely free fight that's going to give DarkKobold 100,000 experience and the potential for 2 key item checks.
Yep. And Water Hag only taking 3 punches to say, all right, you know what, I give up, I'm done. Granted, in the vanilla game, getting Edward to land 3 hits is something that can take a while, but...
And Sultan is going all the way back to Baron, but I don't think that's required. I think he could he have reset it in...
No.
No, he has to go all the way back to Baron? Okay.
Yeah, because when you load your game, that sets your encounter seed. And if you do a manipulation for a specific counter seed or reset, you'll lose your manipulation. So you have to go and do that.
So DarkKobold, seeing what his reward for defeating that Water Hag, for waiting out that Water Hag, it is Luca Key, which doesn't have value but does get him the 10 key items, and I believe it was a Stardust item. I don't think that was the rod.
That's the Stardust Rod doesn't help DarkKobold either because it doesn't have a black mage. Go and take that, Rydia.
It was the rod, but again, so something that Sultan would have loved to find, but isn't going to help DarkKobold.
Yeah, and finding Kanazo at the Weight Sphere altar, and going into spelling the Gathering the Water with a Thor Rage, that should go, and going and punching pretty hard, but not going and doing the Wave, which is an HP based attack. So gonna let Edward survive because having raw HP is pretty required in order to go and survive those waves. It does 4% of the boss's current health as damage.
And Sultan's believing he screwed up his D Machine grind, reset out of it, and is now deciding that he's not going to attempt the grind a second time. He's going back to Cave Bahamut.
We'll see how well that works out for him.
Yeah, we already know that Cave Bahamut does not have value. Oh no, he is going. Sultan is really throwing us for a loop.
He must have gone and hit the crystal by instinct. Ooh,
yeah.
DarkKobold mistiming their Thor Rage, so going to go and eat a wave, but the amount of damage they're pulling out, I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, the wave is based on how much health that Kanazo has left. So the more damage you do to Kanazo, the least threatening that wave becomes.
Yeah, and seeing Kanazo is hiding in the shell, going to be really annoying because every single time you hit Kanazo, he's going to go and counterattack by hiding in his shell and making sure you know that.
That's of course different from his water boss cousins Leviathan and Ogo, whose wave attacks just do 25% off the top. Do not get affected by any of their stats.
Big Wave is a mean spell. Wave is also a spell. Baron Key. Who was hoping for the idea that Baron would go and gate 2 objectives? It's on the table. It could happen. Our runners would be very upset with you if it's true.
I said that could be the start of a nice chain. I was hoping for the Twin Harp, though, to start that chain off. But Baron does have 2 key item checks, and it is tempting to kind of save here and check it and then reset back to the moon. Those bosses are going to be a lot friendlier. But nope, DarkKobold is going to walk to the Ogo spot and check what boss is hiding for.
Yeah, I respect that play because if Baron Key gives Twin Harp, then you have to commit to checking that, and you were right next to this altar. Maybe it had it here, and DarkKobold hasn't done any proper grind yet, so he's going to want to get more experience. This is going to give him plenty if he can survive these. Oh, yes. I was going to say if he can survive these fights.
Moon is super free.
Water Hag, King Queen Evelyn. Kanaza's is not very free, but the spot he was in is definitely not the worst spot because it didn't have a lot of HP.
Yeah, I think the ducking back to Earth and checking a key item that you just got on the moon is probably more of a 15-16 key item play and less of a 10-11 key item play.
Yeah, if he had the Adamant or the Legend maybe, or if it was something like the Pan or the Rat Tail, I could see it. But with a check that requires commitment, yeah, I can definitely understand not coming back. And also, Left-Footed Sultan did go and put their Tele in the middle this time. That is going to go and benefit them significantly. Yeah, the King Queen Evelyn fight, it's really free, literally, because they're a story fight in the vanilla game. They're Edge's parents, and they didn't want to be monsters, and it did not want to continue being one. Also, Asuka, would you please randomize the rewards?
Oh boy, I think did Dathis take Asuka's place for when the seed was rolled?
You know, I'm beginning to think that Dathis is stealing, just like took over the computer for a second, because this is that's another vanilla reward.
Yeah, and you know, it is if we had a ninja, seeing that Hanzo steal would be a celebratory. With no ninja in sight, it is just a...
Yep, and now DarkKobold is choosing to go and take some King Ryu fights. He has 10 key items. He's got a lot of experience, but might as well take some more.
Yeah, the fights will be a lot slower than if he did have Tello with weak, but it's just a time commitment.
We do have some characters with very powerful weapons, so...
Yeah, that 2,500 damage from our spoon word is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, that's like I said, they have about 8,000 HP. When you're doing 300 damage a swing, that's not a good grind. When you're doing 3,000 damage a swing, that's a much better grind.
Yeah, so the advantage of Left-Footed Sultan attempting to get the D machine early is all but lost, unfortunately. Now that DarkKobold has 10 key items and is doing his own grind, he's going to get his characters up to levels much faster, and they're probably gonna be exiting their grinds at about the same time at this pace, and DarkKobold a lot further in his checks.
Yeah, DarkKobold has a significant check advantage. He has Dwarf Castle and the Warp Glitch. He has Tower and the Super Cannon spot. I believe he's also done Plague in the Fey March. And then he's got 3 spots on the bottom of the moon and Cave Bahamut. This is definitely... DarkKobold has a serious advantage on checks. What, not out of the race yet, because we still don't have eyes on either of our objectives. We have no eyes on either half of the Forge.
Yeah, it's possible that Left-Footed Sultan is going to come back to the moon, immediately do a top-down check that the Murasame altar, grab that Earth Crystal right away, and then be back in this.
And while DarkKobold is walking to his next fight, let's go and give her a shout-out to follow our runners, DarkKobold and Left-Footed Sultan, and to follow the people who are putting the show on. Asuka424 is doing our restream, Berserk Badger is tracking, and I am joined by Gundam Pilot Spaz.
Yeah, always shout out to the people on the back end, making sure that the stream's coming to you and lighting up those pretty lights.
Without a tracker, without a restreamer, we wouldn't have a show, and without a tracker, it'd be a lot harder to follow, so we do appreciate them, and want to give them a follow to show your appreciation. I'm sure they would reciprocate that appreciation.
One thing definitely learned after tracking a bunch of races is it's a lot harder than one would think.
Yeah, it's one thing to track your own races. It's another thing to go and track 2 races going out at the same time. And finding Dark Elf, so Dark Elf is a fight that would be great to go and have Tele for, because the first half of Dark Elf is played straight, but isn't terribly mean. The second half is a bit ruder with a number of more attacks and HP-based damage, but it doesn't have the boss bit, so Stop works. Weak also works. I believe the vanilla strategy for dealing with Dark Elf in the vanilla game is to get it to the Dark Elf form, have Telecast weak, and have someone punch it once, so it goes bye-bye.
Yeah, it's but with the amount of damage that DarkKobold's party has thrown out, I mean, he did throw that hourglass to stop the Dark Elf, but I don't think that was even necessary at that point.
Yes. Invenerable pointing out, it is still immune to instant death. It's not immune to not so instant death in the form of weak.
So Fatal and Coffins will not affect him.
Correct. We now have eyes on one half of the Legend Sword. The adamant has been found.
And DarkKobold taking that opportunity to exit out. Let's see if he is going to check that the Murasame spot. That is the right one, right? I always confuse it, man.
Yes. The Murasame spot is at the top. The Masamune spot is at the bottom. It's because you know that the top thing you get is pure garbage, and the bottom one is the real treasure. Look, -5 agility is actually quite harsh when you have to play agility fairly.
Who plays agility fairly?
I certainly don't.
Not in free enterprise.
Fair agility is a express train to pain. Yes, Pragmatility. That is the vanilla crystal sword spot.
Revenant Fate. Sad that the D-Mist isn't required. Unfortunately, with Moon and Underground fully open, that was probably never going to be the case. But we can still hope.
It can still be required. We just need Legend Sword behind Earth Crystal and Earth Crystal on D-Mist.
That's right.
And then we hide Asuka from the runners.
If that's the case in this seed, I don't know. Do we let Asuka roll another one?
Yes, of course we let her roll another one.
That sounds like a war crime at that point.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's something I have to go through.
Finding the Karate Man here, and another free Moon boss.
So the Moon has had some not so mean bosses today.
Oh boy.
Well, Dream's dead.
DarkKobold is now in go mode.
DarkKobold is not going to loot the Troya treasury. That's probably an objective that DarkKobold was the most interested in because that treasury is absolutely stacked.
So he only took on a couple dragons. What are his levels right now?
I think he's in the mid-40s. I think he's at 10 key items. Those dragons, when you life glitch them, give 100,000 EXP each. 2 fights is 360,000 experience. He got a lot of experience from the Moon because those fights are somewhere between 50 to 100,000 experience base, and then you double that. So I think DarkKobold might actually be pushing level 50.
Yeah, so he is well within Threemus levels.
The worst thing for DarkKobold is that he's playing with fair agility.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. There's of course a couple ways to deal with that. One of them is keeping Cecil at that the magic level 44 and 28 agility to limit Threemus to relative agility 2. Or you could just toss a curse string on Cecil and limit it, and even with the curse string and the Excalibur, he's still gonna do a bunch of damage.
Yeah, that finding a defense sword. That is my favorite weapon for Kane.
It is a very good weapon for Kane.
It is one of those things that so Kane's ultimate weapon on the Moon is a white spear that has 106 attack power, but I believe it only has 80% accuracy. The defense sword has 105 attack power and 90% accuracy.
Alright, Sultan should be about done with this grind. I haven't been keeping count of how many dragons but he's in this fight for a good 10 minutes now.
Yeah, he's
6 or 7 minutes.
DarkKobold started grinding. I think DarkKobold started the Moon when LeftFootedSultan started this grind. You're right, Snape. The defense sword cannot go and cast a 500 damage white. It is clearly the inferior weapon.
I don't think I've ever actually cast the white spear though. Is anyone? Is there any situation you would want to do that?
If you feel like if you can reflect it off a Star Veil, you might want to go and use it against a Mylon Phase Elements fight in Baron Inn.
Alice is saying that she's used it to nerf Big Bangs, but I didn't think that white would nerf a Big Bang because it's a weak.
So that might
counter weak, right?
There's a very specific thing that happens where sometimes when you use an item to replicate a spell, you don't get the same counters as if you actually cast the spell. The primary example I have of this is with Wyvern. When you cast a summon spell on Wyvern, literally any summon spell from Chocobo, Imp, Bahamut, Sylph, anything, he counters with Mega Nuke.
Right.
If you use a Grimoire, he does nothing.
Interesting.
So it might be, and I would have to test this to go and attest to this, but I'm not going to go and call Ellie a liar for saying she successfully nerfed a Big Bang with a White Spear cast. It could be that because the White Spear doesn't cast the white magic spell white, but a item-based usage of white. The game treats it separately.
Oh, Baka, I'm starting to see some weird flags being thrown up in the chat. Are they trying to give us a message? Are they some kind of like SOS or something?
You know, I would expect a coded message to have more than one letter. It just says Z question mark, Z question mark, Z. This is not a good code. This is very difficult to crack. It doesn't go and give any variation. I can't go and make a cipher for this. I really don't know what you're saying.
Are they saying that maybe we need a nap?
Oh, that... Usually do 3 Z's together for nap, and you don't put a question mark.
Yeah, maybe you could... Oh, Boren Soren just did 3 Z's. Maybe everyone else is just confused.
People have gone and complained about mapping when they're having trouble counting.
Buck, I think there's a question that we typically ask at this point in Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Seed, and that's around our final boss.
Indeed, because the final boss, well, he doesn't go anywhere. We don't let him out. He needs to stay in his lunar prison. Letting him out could go and wreak havoc on the world.
He's a little bit too scary to put in the antlion den, for example.
Very true. But we can't just leave him vanilla, right? I mean, this is a randomizer. We have to randomize something. And he is pretty hideous when you see him, so our lovely Scala Kitty has decided to go and help him out and give him one of 450 different makeovers. So, with your Z flags out in chat, let's ask, whose butt are we kicking this afternoon?
Our restreamer Asuka is cheering for the vanilla sprite. Which I don't think I've ever seen. I've definitely seen close to vanilla sprites.
I've seen a lot of edits of the vanilla sprite in some interesting ways. Usually is actually quite horrifying.
I think my favorite one is HDRMS, which is just the default one. The default one, just bigger.
Oh, it's not just bigger. It's real good.
Yeah, it's good. High quality. Oh boy. I have not seen this one. That's very good.
Cranky Kong from Donkey Kong Country. Which one? I have no idea. I've never played those games, but I know Cranky Kong.
Cranky Kong being the original Donkey Kong from the arcade game.
I'll take your word for it because I haven't touched any of these games.
That might be internet myth, but that's what I've heard, and that's what I choose to believe.
Hey, I'll believe you. I'm not going to question it.
Chad is confirming it.
And we see that LeftFootedSultan has finished their grind. I didn't see what level they finished at, but I think Threemus is not going to go and enjoy when they meet.
No, I mean it felt very long, but it may have felt being under that 10 key item threshold does make that experience a lot less than otherwise.
Yeah, and people are saying that Rydia gained 53 levels. I don't know what level she was, because she definitely wasn't level 1, but it's she's being in the mid 50. All right, to get to level 55, Rydia needs 1.5 million experience. To get to level 50, she needs 1 million experience. To get to level 60, she needs 2 million. A bit over 2 million experience, I think.
Yeah. So if she was her default level, that's going to be a level 58. Rydia.
She starts at level 1, so default level would put her. Yep.
I'm sorry.
But she's definitely not default level because she's higher. She had more than 30 HP from the fights around Baron.
Of course.
But, those fights give about 30 experience, and she needs about 2 experience for the early levels. But, okay, Rydia's level 57. Left-Footed Sultan might have done enough D machines to get Rydia up to Nuke without accounting for the double slingshot, or the slingshot double experience. Because if you have a character 5 levels below the median level of the party, they get double experience until they catch up. If you do all that one fight, they get a lot of experience.
So we have, I think the Sultan has enough levels where when Golbez is he's just going to laugh back and he'll turn to dust.
I think Golbez is going to go, instead of saying ha ha ha, he's going to say ha ha ha. And speaking of saying something, Crankiness isn't saying much. He's supposed to say Big Bang a lot, but I think DarkKobold is pushing out so much damage, Cranky's forgetting that he's supposed to do something.
Now we have one of our roses is berserked and throwing arrows for almost 3,000 damage. Kane throwing 2,000, and that Cecil's nearly doing 6,000 damage a swing. This fight is not going to last very long, and it's over. That's GG's to DarkKobold.
GG's to him. Let's see if he is interested in an interview. Actually, wait, excuse me. I believe they said previously that they are having mic issues and will be unable to interview, but we'll confirm that.
In DarkKobold's official time, 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 51 seconds. Very good performance for what was another fairly rude Oscar seat. I'm excited to see where that Earth Crystal turned out to be.
Yes, that is a big question. If it's on D-Mist, we all get to have a laugh. But, well, taking the CPU fight to go and get prepared.
Not even worrying about preserving the attacker. Just throwing out the Bahamut to take down all 3 orbs in one go.
Turns out, if you can one-shot the CPU fight, you really don't care about finesse. But we did get word that DarkKobold is going to get far enough into the credits to make sure that they hit one of the flags that was added with 4.1, which is after you go and beat Threemus, you can go and get music even if you don't have the Twin Harp. This is a special thing that Board Edit did, that where upon defeating Threemus and getting far enough into the credits, a special flag is set on the SRAM of your save. And you can just load a seed and go to a certain spot and talk and get music. So we have been told that DarkKobold is going to go and do that at some point. So we'll go and get some music for you all shortly.
The seed did not provide music, so Board will have to provide for us.
Well, where was Twin Twin Harp had... All right, so hold up.
We don't know where Twin Harp was either.
Yes, we have... The spots we didn't see were Baron Throne, Odin Throne, the King Element spot, and Demist.
And Zot.
And Zot. And Twin Harp as well, so...
All right, so we're going through the spoiler log now, so we'll be able to figure it out.
Yep, we could go and have Zot or Twin Harp lead to the other, but otherwise, Baron is... Oh, no.
Oh, Twin Harp was behind that Rubicon or Elements fight.
So that's going to be in... If Rubicon to Elements and then Twin Harp was a vanilla Earth Crystal 1, we have to yell at Asuka more because you're supposed to randomize the items, Asuka.
I hope it was behind the harp.
Me too. Just so you know, I have an excuse to yell at Asuka more.
Sultan picking up that pan finally. So Sultan is gonna go turn in that and get his second objective down. And then it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. I imagine he'll probably head right to the moon to start checking there, and should in short time find our two halves of the Excalibur.
Yep, that is something that for not seeing where that Earth Crystal is, if it is behind the elements, it is glorious. Oh, this is so mean.
All right, here we go. We get to see what was at Zot. Nothing but a pink tail at Zot.
Not even with the no adamant's flag turned on, it doesn't even give you the great adamant armor. It will give you a guaranteed piece of tier 7 loot.
Which could be a decent old weapon, legendary ninja sword or crystal sword, but prefer the adamant armor any day.
Adamant armor is really hard to say no to because it gives you plus 15 to every stat, and it gives you immunity to elements, to fire, ice, and lightning. Not resistance, immunity. It means that whenever you get hit with a fire attack, you take 1 point of damage.
I believe you could still get the adamant armor from the pink puffs.
That's true. The moon fully gated 2 objectives. Valvalis on the Baron Throne holds the Earth Crystal.
Yeah, so if DarkKobold chose to leave the moon early, could have found that Earth Crystal and still been in go mode fairly quickly.
Yes, that was on these flags, it's really scary to do the moon unless you know that there's nothing left on Earth, because all the Earth checks are going to be faster than most moon checks. And when you're on the moon, you want to do all the moon checks.
Yeah, it feels like the opposite of the meta in the Football Gauntlet, where getting to moon and doing those checks seem to be like the key to winning your seed as fast as possible.
Yeah, that's definitely... You were pretty incentivized to go and just be ready to clear a lot of those seeds. With the 3 or 4 objectives, you can go and fade a spot and get your go mode somewhere else. But if that spot you fade is on Earth and your opponent finds it, you've given your opponent a pretty serious advantage.
So left-footed Sultan, seeing that he's got those 2 tower checks opened up, I
believe we were joined by DarkKobold now. I see them lighting up, but I'm not hearing sound from them.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. GG's on your win, DarkKobold.
Thank you.
GG. It was very good a run.
Yeah, I am curious. What drove you to take Cecil? I do find vanilla agility to be scarier personally, so I'm curious to see your thoughts as to what made you say, yes, I believe dealing with vanilla agility is worth going and taking Cecil.
So every practice seed I've played where I've rejected Cecil, I've gotten an Excal or Crystal Sword shortly after and regretted it. So I'm sure you saw me pause for quite a bit, flicking between Cecil and Yang going, do I want this Cecil when I haven't seen another one? But once he's just dealing like 4,000 damage, he can take down Z almost on his own.
Definitely a fair assessment. And you had 2 Avengers as well. Did you have both Avengers, or was just the thought of having one Avenger enough to make you say, yes, Cecil's going to still be a great asset to this team?
I think I still had 2 Roses at that point, so I was like, I'm definitely going full Zerk strats here. And it just kept getting better and better with the Spoon and the Defense Sword and the Artemis Bow. It was just well set to do Zerk strats.
Yeah, I did see that you made our restreamer Asuka very happy when you went to that Mount Hobbs and picked up that Edward.
Oh, he was the keyless seed. He totally just whooped Pale completely on his own, taking 1 damage a hit while everybody else was taking 1,000 plus.
That's right, you had him with both the Crystal Ring and the Glass Hat. That's some defense.
Yeah, he's usually a glass cannon, but the Glass Cat turned him a little bit more into steel.
It certainly tempered the damage he was taking. Well, how did you feel about your route through that seed in general? You did go and hit a lot of checks, but you hit them rather efficiently, finishing at an hour 22 for getting, I think, all but 6 checks or so?
I'm sure that it was a major point in the restream, but I saw that Mist Dragon, and it's like 7 checks on the moon, or a gated Earth Crystal, which has the legend and adamant behind it. It was on my mind the moment I left for the moon until I found that legend sword.
Yeah, that... We were obviously hoping for the Victroll because we don't have to run the seed. We can go and we can wish for all the awful things we like and we don't have to deal with the consequences of them. But if you did have to deal with that Demus, did you have any specific thoughts you were going and putting into? You saw that already on the moon but chose not to take her, or was that something that you considered?
No, once I had the kind of like just absolute damage dealing team, it was set. I knew what my Z strategy was going to the moon, that I was going to have the Heroine, Zerk, Rosa, and all of just insane amounts of damage on Z. I think I was doing something like 15k a round on him.
You were doing a lot. You were definitely doing a lot of damage. I think you got 1 big bang and then Romus decided that they had enough.
I think I just kind of set my controller down after Rosa got that Cure 3 off. Like, whatever happens, happens at this point. In fact, setting the controller down was kind of the theme of the early seed. I don't think I entered a battle command for at least the first 15 minutes of the run.
Yeah, you did go and start with that Avenger.
That was just crazy. And this is actually my race against Simbu also started with the Avenger, straight from the King of Barons. So that's 2 in a row.
Wow.
And it just does the entire Earth for you. You don't even need to press a button.
The decision to drop Tella for Edward, did you hesitate on that? We saw you setting up for the King Ryu grind, which typically involves Tella. What was going through your head when you made that decision?
I'd found Sirens and Iron Hourglasses at that point, so I knew that I wasn't, and I had Cecil on the team, and he doesn't really need that high of a level to make him useful. So if I went to the moon and there wasn't much there, if I got the go mode at the ribbon spot or at Bahamut, I knew I was good to go with just leveling with a few Sirens to get him over Big Bang, get Edward over Big Bang, and it was going to go much faster than trying to hit the moon, get the Baron set up for Deem Machine, and then going to the moon.
Yeah, and right, you were, and you didn't struggle against those King Ryus at all with Spoonword and Excal Cecil.
Yeah, I only ended up needing to do 2, and even that, I think Cecil ended up probably in the mid-40s in agility, but at that point, agility anchoring didn't even matter. Was there any particular part of the seed that you found the most difficult? I'm kind of wondering if the CPU Golbez gate was what did my opponent in. If what did left-footed Sultan in.
Yeah, he did get through the CPU, but then ended up getting turned around by the Galbas and deciding to grind instead of attempting that again.
Yes,
That
when he
was
came back-
definitely part that I was panicking most because I didn't, I had Kane completely defenseless to some degree with the Avenger. So I wasn't going to be able to get a Star Veil up if he was one of the two that survived, and then the other one got virus right away. I was also going to be in reset territory.
Did handle the CPU very well, despite the fact that Kane was berserked going into that, throwing up the blink on the attacker orb. Very, very quick thinking.
Yeah, it just seemed like, and then even though he managed to kill the attacker, he was doing so much damage to CPU that it wasn't super worrying. The Golbez afterwards is the real, like, uh-oh. Not a nice combo.
That was quite rude because you really don't want to go. CPU is going to go and bring you down to low health, but isn't going to kill you off in any uneven fashion. And Golbez really wants your team to be dead in an uneven fashion. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we let you go?
Nope, thank you guys for commentating, and it was fun.
I'm glad you had fun, and best of luck in the hook round.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. And with that, I believe, yes, Left-Footed Sultan has forfeited. We'll go and see if he wants to have an interview. But this has been a seed. I'll also go and shut up for a little bit so you can listen to the music unmarred by my voice.
Meanwhile, we can enjoy the harp music while we wait to see if Left-Footed Sultan wants to come in.
Yes, they have said that they are interested in interviewing and will be joining us shortly. That they are interested. All in all, this has definitely been it seemed like a fair bit of a generous race with the Defend of Fabul and 2 Earth objectives, but then we needed to go hunting around for a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they play elements in places where.
Indeed, and I believe we are joined by Left-Footed Sultan. Congratulations on your match, Left-Footed Sultan. Sorry things didn't work out for you, but how are you feeling about that seed?
It was certainly interesting. I wish I'd played it a bit better, but good days and bad days, I suppose.
That's entirely fair. We were talking about how rude that CPU into Golbez was. That's a very rough fight to get into, to be honest.
I did not want to sit back through that, so I just went up, messed up the D machine for a while, and then
That's something that
in submission, basically.
Those grinds are. D Machine is one of those grinds that it's easy to go and make mistakes on. It's something that I definitely remember going and making a number of mistakes on them and getting killed by those fights because I got overconfident in some things. I didn't go and set my party up properly. There's a lot of ways things can go unfortunate, go sideways in that fight.
Yeah, especially with the new manipulation.
Definitely.
So, those early couple fights, we noticed that you didn't throw the Avenger immediately up the game. Were you worried about what bosses that you would find in those early checks?
Yeah, I was worried I would get. Or sorry, I misunderstood. I was slightly concerned about having issues with losing control over him and making some mistake and then everything spiraling out of control.
Definitely a reasonable thing to go and be concerned with. It's going with the one character completely uncontrolled is definitely a risk in a lot of situations. How did you feel about your overworld routing in general? You did go and do a lot of looting in the Watery Pass, but getting a lot of things for it.
I'm pretty happy with everything up until Dwarf Castle.
Definitely fair. When you saw the Darkness Crystal from Sheila 1, did you have any thoughts of maybe going and taking the moon early and trying to see if you can steal some fights off there? Or did you decide, no, I don't want to go and do this while there's still a lot left on Earth?
I generally don't like to go moon while I have any other options. Obviously, a lot of people do go up there really early, and that's certainly a valid play. It's just not what I like to do.
Definitely understand all these flag sets. It's definitely a big rest. It's a big time commitment as well with those fights usually, because lots of high HP bosses, and you could need to go and just deal with some really rude bosses up there. So I can definitely respect choosing, no, it's not something I want to go and spend a lot of time focusing on, and just instead keep on the Earth checks.
What were your thoughts when you spied Demist all the way at the top of the Tower of the Bell?
That 20,000 or 23, I don't remember the exact number. I don't like fighting really high HP Demists unless I absolutely have to. They are quite unpleasant.
That wasn't going to be a check that you were immediately going to run toward?
Probably not. Was that Earth Crystal?
No, Earth Crystal was behind a Baron Key that was on the moon.
Yeah, I probably would have had a 2-hour final time then.
Yeah, both parts of the Forge were on the moon as well. The Adamant was at the Crystal Sword altar, and the Legend Sword was at the Murasame altar, so it's pretty likely those are going to be... You weren't going to go and get your Forge until the last 2 checks of the moon.
That's the risk you take with Fading Moon, I suppose.
Again, it's a pretty high numbers play, because it's 7 spots compared to the Earth's 20-some-odd, depending on where your key items shake out. I certainly don't... Going to the moon early is scary on these flags, because you only need 3 of 4 objectives. If you leave something out on Earth and, it's an objective, you're definitely going to leave yourself exposed. It's not the wrong play in general. It's just sometimes it doesn't work out to be the right one for the seed.
Yeah.
Well, you are going to be moving on to the hook route. How are you feeling going into the hook route?
There's an awful lot of good players even in there. I'm nervous but also excited for it.
I'm glad you're excited. Have you been enjoying the tournament so far?
I have. It's certainly been an experience. I hadn't ever streamed anything at all on Twitch before this tournament. So that new experience is always interesting.
I hope this has definitely been an exciting and interesting experience for you. I also didn't really start streaming until I got into Free Enterprise and playing tournaments, so I know that feeling. Gundam, do you have any final questions?
No, I think that's about it. It was a very rude Galbez and a very rude CPU, and you did play it well. It just sometimes Free Enterprise is not correct. So it was a very, very, very good GG's to you.
Yes, GG's TheLeftFootedSultan. Best of luck in the future races as well.
Thank you, and GG's to Dark while I'm in here.
Indeed.
So before we kick it over, we do have one final race tonight, and I think it's like the last of maybe there's only 4 matches left in round 1 of Highway to the Threemus Zone. But tonight it's Schmepti versus Porsyth at 8 p.m. on right here on the Free Enterprise Twitch channel.
Definitely something to be excited for. It's something that I don't want to miss. I hope you don't want to miss it either. And yeah, as we wrapped up the group stage, we'll be moving into the Hook and Maga routes, where if you didn't qualify in the group stages, there are still ways to qualify going forward, so there's going to be a lot of exciting matches for the next few weeks. And with that, let's go and give a final shout out to our runners, DarkKobold and LeftFootedSultan, and another shout out to our Restream team, Oscar424 on Restream, Bersic Badger on tracking, and my co-commentator, Gun Pilot Spaz. Thank you for helping out today.
Absolutely. Everyone have a good afternoon.
Have a great afternoon, and we'll be sending you off on to Invenerable, who is going and doing his own free enterprise practice. Invenerable, being the champion of the Football Gauntlet, has a bye directly to the table stage, and unless I'm mistaken, he is playing table flags. The time is 8 p.m. Eastern, so in about 3 hours.